You want to know why intelligent men make women uneasy? It's not because they're unkind. It's because they care in a way that doesn't follow the script. They don't chase just to be chosen. They don't flatter just to be liked. They don't jump through emotional hoops to prove their worth. They observe. They listen. They respond, not react. And that unnerves people, because most are used to emotionally responsive puppets, not thoughtful men who choose their words like a surgeon with a scalpel. The intelligent man isn't absent. He's just selectively present. He doesn't give energy to chaos. He doesn't pour himself into people just because they demand it. That kind of presence feels like rejection to those who are used to being worshipped without effort. But he's not rejecting them, he's discerning. And that's the part most people don't get. When intelligence meets emotional clarity, you get something rare, spiritual X-ray vision. You see through the games, through the fake smiles, through the performance, through the chaos. And when you see that clearly, people feel exposed, especially those who are hiding behind charm and theatrics. Kierkegaard spoke often of becoming a self. Not a mask, not a role, not someone else's reflection, but a self. And that process, that transformation, it demands silence, stillness, solitude. 3 things the modern world avoids like the plague. Why? Because a man who's comfortable in silence is dangerous. A man who sits still long enough might stop chasing attention. He might stop buying into nonsense. He might stop apologizing for his insight. He might start walking away from everything and everyone that insults his soul. You want to scare people? Walk into a room and don't try to be noticed. Just observe. Speak only when it matters. Set boundaries without raising your voice. Be kind, but don't be compliant. Be romantic, but not dependent. Watch what happens. People start adjusting themselves around you. Not because you're intimidating, but because you're rooted. And most people, especially in today's hyper-stimulated world, don't know how to handle a man who doesn't need the room to like him. That's the true danger of the intelligent man. He doesn't perform. And when someone refuses to perform, others don't know what to do with them. The world runs on roles, on characters, on expectations. You step out of those roles, and suddenly, you're not charming or safe or normal. You're too intense, too quiet, too much. But you're not too much. You're just real. And that's rare. Kierkegaard said, "Once you label me, you negate me." And that's what happens to men like you. You get labeled cold, distant, arrogant. But it's not because you're any of those things. It's because your clarity exposes what others aren't ready to face. Most people will reduce you to whatever helps them feel less exposed. But don't let that discourage you. Let it sharpen you. Let it deepen your solitude. Let it carve you into something stronger, more grounded, more true. Because you weren't built to be palatable. You weren't made to blend in. You weren't designed to be someone's emotional crutch. You were made to be whole, to be awake, to be free. And freedom is terrifying in a world built on illusion. You're not dangerous because you want power. You're dangerous because you've stopped being seduced by powerlessness. You don't chase approval. You don't apologize for your presence. You don't water down your insight just to be liked. And that's threatening, to women, to society, to everyone who still benefits from men being passive, agreeable, distracted. You want connection, but only if it's real. You want love, but only if it's aligned. You want to be met, not worshipped, not used, not tolerated. Met. And to be met, truly met, someone has to also be whole. They have to have done the work. Faced their own darkness. Healed their own wounds. And the truth is, most people aren't ready for that. so they call you cold. But you're not cold, you're clear. You don't hate women. You just don't buy into illusions. You don't hate love. You just refuse to confuse it with codependency. You've seen too much to pretend you're blind again. You know what performance looks like. You know what emotional manipulation smells like. And you refuse to play the game. That's what makes you unreadable, untouchable, unplayable. Kierkegaard called it the single individual, a man separated from the crowd, not out of arrogance, but out of authenticity. A man who walks alone, not because he hates people, but because most paths lead to nowhere. And he wants meaning. He wants truth. He wants something deeper than stimulation or performance or roleplay. And here's the catch. The more grounded you become, the more people will try to shake you. Not because you're wrong, but because you remind them of everything they abandoned. Their depth, their integrity, their truth. And in love, this becomes even more intense. Because you're not seduced by emotional chaos. You're not turned on by unpredictability. You're drawn to stillness, peace, alignment. And when you bring that kind of energy into a relationship, it feels like a foreign language to someone who's only ever known love as drama. It can feel cold, but it's not. It's steady. And most people aren't used to steadiness. They're used to highs and lows, to hot and cold, to games, to chasing and being chased. But you don't play. You don't rush. You don't cling. You don't perform. You see. And the woman who's ready for that kind of seeing will feel it. She'll feel your clarity, your presence, your truth. And it'll challenge her, not because you're trying to, but because you're not playing by the rules she's used to. And in that moment, she'll either rise to meet you, or retreat to what's familiar. But either way, you won't change to be more comfortable for her. You won't soften your clarity to be more acceptable. You won't pretend to be shallow just to be relatable. Because your job isn't to be liked. It's to stay aligned. And alignment doesn't make you loud. It makes you unshakable. Kierkegaard lived in that solitude. He was mocked, misunderstood. He walked away from the love of his life, not because he didn't care, but because he did. Because he knew the role the world wanted him to play was too small for the truth he carried. And that's your choice now. Keep playing the role? Or finally become the man you were born to be, even if that means being feared, misunderstood, or walking alone.